It's 7:49. This is West Virginia Morning. I'm Chuck Anzelevich. Not much has been known about Appalachia's contributions to the Underground Railroad until now.
We've identified churches, stores, homes, cemeteries, actually. Now folks can actually look up a map and say, wow, so this is how they did this.
That story and more coming up on this West Virginia Morning. Support for West Virginia Morning is provided by Hope Gas, committed to the growth and development of West Virginia to strengthen the community. Information at wvisforhope.com. Secretary of State Kris Warner is maintaining his position to not share voter rolls with the federal government, despite new threats of legal action. Chris Schultz has more.
In February, the U.S. Department of Justice announced a lawsuit against West Virginia and 4 other states for not providing their full voter registration lists after 2 formal requests. Tuesday, the Department of Justice sent Warner and chief election officers in other states a letter purporting to be a, quote, notice of federal laws applicable to state and local election officials to ensure free, fair, and transparent elections. The letter specifies that officials must ensure only U.S. citizens vote and warns that the DOJ is authorized to prosecute criminal violations of such laws. In a reply sent Thursday, Warner said his office is unaware of any evidence of non-citizens on its voter rolls and requests that the DOJ share any credible information that warrants investigation. The letter concludes by restating that West Virginia law prohibits the disclosure of, quote, sensitive personally identifiable information contained in voter registration records. For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, I'm Chris Schultz in Morgantown.
It promises to be a stormy weekend across West Virginia, and that's not all. As Maria Young reports, a flood watch is in effect for much of the state through Sunday morning.
The National Weather Service in Charleston says multiple rounds of showers and thunderstorms are expected through Saturday night. Locally, heavy rainfall is likely to raise the risk of flash flooding, especially in areas already saturated with water. Meteorologist Levi Cornett says training storms, a series of storms that repeatedly follow the same path, hitting the same areas, are projected to hit Mingo and McDowell counties and parts of Kanawha County.
If you get certainly, over an inch of rain, you can see ponding on roadways. If you get enough of it, you can see vehicles wash away with that. Certainly, rivers can rise pretty swiftly, especially across our southern coal fields.
Cornett says the public should monitor forecasts and be prepared to avoid roads and low-lying areas prone to flood. For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, I'm Maria Young in Charleston.
The fire is completely out in Parkersburg. Now the cleanup and investigations begin. Eric Douglas explains.
Preliminary lab results from the Little Canal River reveal that contaminants remain well below state water quality standards, but staff from the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection are continuing to monitor the river following the People's Cartage Industrial Warehouse fire. Personnel were on hand to assess the site Wednesday and to determine if additional controls were necessary to minimize runoff during cleanup activities. The Environmental Protection Agency is also removing the temporary air monitors. A lawsuit filed in federal district court against People's Cartage and Total Distribution Incorporated alleges negligence that caused a state of emergency and a shelter-in-place order. It says the company turned off sprinkler systems after a fire on Saturday, leaving the facility unprepared when the fire flared back up on Sunday. For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, this is Eric Douglas in Charleston.
You're listening to West Virginia Morning on West Virginia Public Broadcasting. It's 7:53. Across West Virginia, we do expect to have a flood watch in effect for most of the state through the rest of today. Showers and thunderstorms likely, with some strong gusty winds possible. Highs will be in the mid-70s to the low 80s. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a slight chance of rain. Lows in the 60s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms late in the day. Highs tomorrow in the mid-70s to the low 80s. And on Sunday, becoming partly cloudy with highs in the upper 70s to the mid-80s. Before the Civil War, slaves escaped to the free North through the Underground Railroad. Cicero Fain is a historian at Marshall University. He's documented the region's black history. His Appalachian Freedom Heritage Initiative has documented dozens of previously unknown Underground Railroad sites throughout our region. Inside Appalachian's Mason Adams spoke with Fain and has this.
What are some of the sites along the way? I'm kind of interested in hearing about some of the actual sites and how they functioned within this Underground Railroad network.
We've identified churches, stores, homes, cemeteries, actually, where folks are buried, trails. Now folks can actually look up a map and say, wow, so this is how they did this. I've learned, not only the contributions of, let's say, the Baptist Church, but of Quakers and Presbyterians. It illuminates that when people are committed to righting wrongs, to fighting the good fight, when you have such interracial cooperation, it's a testament to the best of us.
I think a lot of times when people think about history, they think about taking the courses in school and places and dates and battles, but it's always about people, right? People are at the core of history. So maybe it'd be good to talk about some of the folks you've documented who used some of these sites.
Let's talk about the three in Campbell County then. Folks may know about the Green Bottom Plantation, which is on Route 2, just outside of Huntington. We document the escape of Moses, Joshua, and Joe there in the 1830s. And it should be said that the Green Bottom Plantation would evolve into the Jenkins Plantation. By the 1860s, the Green Bottom Plantation would be the largest plantation in Western Virginia, 4,400 acres, upwards of 80 to 100 enslaved persons working there. Moses, Joshua, and Joe realize that their situation is not one they want to endure, and so they escape, and they use forged papers to escape as well. So they know the power and importance of literacy. They had the forged papers, they knew how to get out, and one of the things that we also have realized is the importance of the Ohio River and Gandat River and other waterways that exist, because it allowed for the transportation not only of goods, but also the transportation of ideas. And so when folks docked into Gandat or docked into Holderby's Landing or wherever it may have been, for instance, or even in Lawrence County, unquestionably, from time to time, information would be transmitted that the freedom seeker could avail themselves of. And it is our speculation that Moses, Joshua, and Joe learned a few things. They then charted out a plan, and they then sought out to execute that plan. Now, unfortunately, both Joshua and Joe would be recaptured, re-enslaved. We don't know what happened to Moses. That's one of the more telling episodes of the difficulty of actually trying to get freedom. On the other hand, we have James Major Monroe, really around the 1830s, 1840s as well, in Gandat. He's working for a merchant, and he overhears his owner basically saying he's going to sell him down south. And that was the catalyst that he needed to forge a plan for he and his wife to escape. James Major Monroe does escape. He goes to Canada, successfully arrives there. At a certain point in time, he comes back to Gandat to retrieve his wife, but unfortunately cannot locate her. But he at least does obtain his freedom. The last episode that we chronicle, we just had the ceremony, actually this past Friday on Juneteenth, of Asbury Parker, just a remarkable man and story, not only as a freedom seeker, but as a conductor. He escaped from Cabell County around 1857 and traveled to Canada through a circuitous route. He would then come back and assist other freedom seekers to escape. Those are just three stories. There are a multitude of stories, and I could regale you with exploits, successful exploits, also some tragic ones.
That was historian and Marshall University professor Cicero Fain speaking with Mason Adams. To hear the rest of that interview and more, listen to Inside Appalachia this coming Sunday morning at 7 and Sunday evening at 6 here on West Virginia Public Broadcasting. West Virginia Morning is a production of West Virginia Public Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Support for our news bureaus comes from Shepherd University and the Marshall University School of Journalism and Mass Communications. West Virginia Morning is produced with help from Bill Lynch, Chris Schultz, Eric Douglas, and Maria Young. Eric Douglas is our news director. Maria Young is our producer. You can listen to West Virginia Morning weekday mornings at 7:49 on WVPB Radio or subscribe to the podcast and never miss an episode. #WV Morning. I'm Chuck Anzelevich.